with Christina's. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody. We are here in Brazil and in England, so it's pretty exciting. Of course, I would love to hear from you, who you are, what your interests are, what you're studying there with Christina, and then we can move on to try to start this presentation. I hope it works. If it doesn't, because sometimes the Google Hangout has a problem with screen sharing. If I can't make it, I'll give you the link to the slides and we can follow, like we can be here and then follow the slides in another tab, okay? Yeah, so maybe you could start I can see like in the first part of the screen on the left, I have a blonde girl. I would love to hear from her. Cindy, yes, Cindy.
Hey, my name's Cindy. I'm from South Africa and I'm doing my master's with Cristina in technology and I'm really enjoying it. It's been very eye-opening and I've also read your blog posts yesterday. So I've been enjoying them and how you've been using, what is it, ThinkThread or something, where you get to take images and make them into real life thoughts and ideas, and I've been playing with that. So I've been enjoying that. So thank you so much for doing this talk with us. I'm really interested about how the brain works and how we learn. So that is really nice. So thank you for coming.
Great, Cindy. And then we have Hillary, right?
Hi, I'm Hilary. Yeah, I live in Glasgow in Scotland, and I am doing the course because I work for the Scottish Qualifications Authority, which we are the designers of the curriculum in Scotland, and I have a specific remit which is about upskilling people who don't use technology at all, so they have no digital literacy skills. So I'm learning really a lot from this course and really looking forward to hear how your course might be able to help me in some of my work. So thanks again.
Great, welcome, Hillary. And then we have Liz.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Sorry, I was having some issues with my earplugs. My name's Liz. I'm from Canada, and I am a primary teacher. I've taken a lot of modules with Cristina and all these ladies, and I'm very interested in technology as well, but also learning in the brain, just because my school does a lot of work actually with units on learning in the brain. And I've been to one or two conferences on essentially learning in the brain. So I'm really interested to make some connections and bring some of my prior knowledge to the discussion today. So thank you so much for being here.
And then we have Shabana, is that right? Shabana.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, Shabana, go ahead. Shabana, you were okay, so just unmute your mic and then you can speak. Yes, go ahead. No? Okay. Well, we can talk to her later on. Well, it's really great to see so many, faces with different cultural backgrounds, as I can see here. Yes, from South Africa here to Brazil. So this is pretty exciting. Let me try to show you my slides. I don't know if that will work because Sometimes we have some issues with that, but I'll try. If not, I have posted could you access the PPT that I posted on the side there? Can you see my slides there? Can you all see the slides that I posted there on the chat area? Yes? Just give me a hands. Yes, perfect. Okay, so if the screencasting doesn't work, we have the backup there with the slides, okay? Yeah? So let me see if I can do it. When I am on a PC, I can, but sometimes when I am on a Mac, I can't. But let's try it. Okay. So can you see it there? Yes? Oh my God. Is it just, I'm not in the Hangout, I am on the slides. Can you just tell me if it's working, Cristina, or if it's like the infinite screen?
I can see just the slides, just one slide, so it's
Oh,
displaying
the
perfectly.
first one? Yes. So if I turn it like to the main one, if I make it a presentation, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll be talking to you. I won't be checking the chat right now, but I'll be back to our Hangout. Yes. So I'll be seeing my screen here with the slides, but we can go back. I'll stop and then we can discuss some of the things here. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on. Now, and then I want you to talk to me. Okay. Not write in this case. So if you are interested in neuroscience or anything related to the brain, I can imagine you know what this is, right? Can you tell me what it is? Anybody?
Is it the neuron chain?
Yes, it's a neuron. Yes, so a neuron is a specialized cell, and it all starts in the brain with a neuron. Yeah, so brains can be made from 1 billion neurons to 100 billion neurons, depending on the species we are talking about. The human brain, people say we have around 80 billion neurons. Some say it's 100 billion. So we are in between 80 and 100 billion, yeah? So, and why everything starts from the neuron? Yes, with the neuron, yeah? First, we need to understand how it is made of. So we have here, we have the cell body. The axon is really where the electrical signals go. And they travel around the axon. Yeah, they reach the dendrites, which are the branches of the neurons. Yeah, and once they reach the branches of the neurons there, they connect to other cells. They trigger neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitters bind to receptor molecules on the surface of another neuron, and that's where the synapses happen. Okay, so when they bind together, the synapses are the point of virtual contact. Yeah, the synapses not. It seems that they connect, like they touch each other, but they really don't. This is all made of chemicals. Yes. Neurons, in fact, are the ones holding information. They are the ones which store what we really know. Yes, so information is stored in neurons in the form of chemicals. So when you think about thinking is firing a group of neurons. Okay, so when the axons are working and they are firing, yes, they are firing information there, yeah. And so this is where firing happens. So the more group of neurons that fire together, so they are firing at the same time, yes, so information is going through our brains and they're firing, yes, all the time. Now, the more group of neurons that fire together, the more likely that they are going to wire together. Yeah, so this is really important because many times we are in our classes, for example, we are firing all the time, but we are not wiring. Yeah, so the main point of our teaching should be firing to wire. Yeah, this is the most important concept we need to understand in order to even change the way we understand our activities in our pedagogy and our classrooms. Yes, so we need to fire until it wires. Yeah, otherwise it's not going to be transformed into knowledge and connection. So learning, when we think about learning, learning is a physical process, it's a biological process, and it really involves making connections, neuronal connections. Yeah, so as you can see here, these are dendrites, so they are the end of the neuron. Yes, let me just get here back a little bit. Here you can see the dendrites. Yes, so they are the branches in the neurons. Okay, so once we connect the dendrites with other dendrites from other neurons, we grow these dendrites, and this is learning. Yeah, so and also another important aspect here is that in our classrooms, so for example, when we start our classrooms, when you know something, when we start developing a neuronal network that fires together on a subject in the brain, we are starting to fire and wire. Within 10 to 20 minutes, for example, of a class period, students are already growing new dendrite connections. So we really have the power of transforming the brain and transforming these connections through our teaching, through our activities and the tasks that we propose to students. Yeah, and the exciting part of that is that nowadays we can do that, and technology can really help us out in the sense of not just firing but wiring. Yeah, so this is the beauty of bridging the gap between understanding neuroscience and understanding how technology can really help learning, as in deep learning. So the more brain areas we use, the more neurons fire, and the more neuronal networks change, and thus more learning occurs. So if you understand this concept, then everything is going to be related to this point. Yeah, so a good teacher is not one who explains things correctly, but one that really puts things in an interesting way and strengthens the neuronal networks that the students have. Yeah, so this is the key. It's really like bringing surprise to the classroom, bringing elements that make students create things and not just, listen to you. Yes, it's all about active learning and students doing the job so that they can strengthen their neuronal networks. Yes, you are there to help them strengthen that, but they are the ones who are going to be really working. You need to put them to make their brains work. Yeah. So, if you understand that we are there working with these existing neuronal networks, then you will understand how learning happens and how we can manage that. So and I'm sure that you have studied Vygotsky before, so this is really important, and it has a lot to do with what Vygotsky talks about in terms of scaffolding, for example. Yeah, we need to understand where students are and where their connections are, so that we start from there, from where we are. And the problem with teaching in general is that we start from where we are, not where they are. Yeah? So imagine here that your students are beginners, they're learning English or, any other language. It's not just English, any other language, and they don't have the neuronal network, they've never seen it before, like the word beach. Yes? Imagine that. So my question to you is, how could you tap into their existing neuronal networks? How can you tap into something that they already know? Can you give me some examples? I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, okay, so you could so I teach at an international baccalaureate school,
Uh-huh.
and part of our inquiry-based learning program is that we have something called provocations, and so
Uh-huh.
we do exactly this. We put out, pictures, movies, artifacts. We might, have a guest speaker. We might take them on a field trip. We do things to kind of get them thinking and to kind of grasp them in. And
Uh-huh.
pictures are a really great way of doing that. What I used to do, because I teach early primary, is I used to have something called the Wonder Table, and I
Uh-huh.
would bring in, let's say we were learning about shelters, animal shelters. I actually brought in like bees' nests and birds' nests and little homes that animals had made that I had collected, and it really got the kids thinking. And it's what you said. It's activating
Uh-huh.
that prior knowledge, and it's making
Yes.
connections, and it's drawing them in. And it's so important because that's really how you get them thinking, and especially when they're as you said, like with firing these neurons and wiring information together, you have to be able to connect it to anything that you know on the subject before.
Yes, but one point that I really want to make here is that generally we start with what we know. So, for example, in your case, you brought something that you had, right? So, for example, in this case, let's focus here on the beach. How could you connect to this concept, even if they don't know? How could it be closer to them? So can you give me an example? They don't know the word beach and you're trying to make them understand the concept. How can you make it closer to their own reality? Let me ask you something. You were all in Glasgow, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're all in Glasgow, what do you have there? Do you have the sea? Do you have what do you have there? Do you have a river? What do you have?
River.
A river.
Big river, yeah.
Okay, so one place that you could start with is the river that the students already know. Okay, so you can explore, for example, pictures of this river and then get into the concept of a beach and how the sea is different from a river. Do you see what I mean? So starting from where students are, okay? Of course, I think what you pointed out is really important in the sense of wonder and discovery and surprise, and the brain loves that. But the main point here, when we are talking about prior knowledge, we need to know, we need to get to students' own prior knowledge. So maybe a common ground there for you is the river. Okay, so it's water. So first, what do they have in common? So you could be exploring pictures, and their technology really helps because probably they even have photos of the river or photos of their family having a picnic by the river or something like that. So first, you connect what they know. You can compare what they know with what they don't know, and then of course you can go from there to explore beach, for example. Now in our case here in Brazil, I don't know, have you ever heard of Gabriel Medina? I don't know if if you've ever heard of him.
No.
No. Okay. See, so for you, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. If I start my lesson talking about beach and Gabriel Medina and surf, why? But here in Brazil, it makes total sense because Gabriel Medina for us, he's an idol now. He became an idol after he won the World Surfers Championship. So he is the most famous surfer in Brazil, yes? among with what we call the storm surfers in Brazil. So then it's pretty easy for me to make students relate to the concept of beach, because I can get Gabriel Medina, which is really popular. I can go to, for example, his Instagram, and then this is the beauty of using social media. And you can get real pictures from real, idols and fans and, all kinds of ordinary people. And then I can use that in my classroom. So if I just want to talk about the beach, the concept of the beach, and then explain to my students what the beach is, I can just refer to Gabriel Medina's Instagram, for example. Yeah, and then they will know exactly what I mean by beach. And then I can ask them to explore different types of beaches around the world. Yes, the most popular one, where they would like to go and all that. So, and for you, it doesn't make any sense because it's not part of your prior knowledge. But here in Brazil, it is part of, common sense. Everybody knows about him. So can you perceive what I mean here? Any questions? Any other ideas of how you could work with this concept? This very simple, and I brought something that is very common, but it's interesting because we generally we tend to start with our own experience and not our students' experience. Yes? Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, great. Okay, so moving on. I'd like to talk a little bit about, I'd like you to just imagine you had a hashtag, yes, of things that are happening now in your lives, yes? Like a trending topic in your life, yeah? So this is a very good way of understanding where students are, what their passions are, what their interests are. So could you just write down some, you can even post in the chat area. I can't see the chat area right now, but I'll get back to the chat area. So can you just go to the chat area there and post some hashtags with the trending topics in your lives? And then I'll ask you to, just tell me some of them. Trending topics. So I don't know, some hashtags that you would put. For example, my trending topic now is makerspace. I don't know. Okay? Have you tried some trending topics, your hashtags, the hashtags in your lives? Okay, so can you just, shout out some of your trending topics?
I said dissertation in summer.
Dissertation and summer. So you'll be working on your, okay, great. Any other hashtags so I can learn more about you? Yes, I know that you are going to be working hard. You are into academics. Yes, great. What else? Some other trending topics?
I have put Fit Girls Guide because it's something I'm following on Instagram. It's about a family, your friends, and then you follow this fitness program. And with that, I have our classroom hashtag, which is Telstra, and
Uh-huh.
also one I really follow on Twitter is Digital Edu for digital
Uh-huh.
education. So
Uh-huh.
I really like that hashtag a lot.
So I can see that you were into fitness, you were into digital
Trying to be.
education. Yes, great. And I can give you even some Instagram really cool. Uh, I follow some as well. I would put that in my list. And if you even check my Instagram, you see that training is something that I've been trying to follow more frequently. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for trending topics? Anybody? Christina, how about your trending topic?
My
Can
training
you hear me now?
can
Yes.
go on, Savannah.
Go ahead. Hey. So go, Christina. Tell me about your trending topic.
I follow a Bourdieu, which is a theorist that I'm studying. So I always try to follow any hashtag that brings him together, and that brings me into Twitter into different languages, which is actually quite neat. I'm also following the BEd Straf, which is our BA for education at Strathclyde, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that brings a lot of imagery and experiences from students on placement. So it's something that I like to follow. And then I follow conferences here and then as they show up. So any conference that I'm interested in. The last one that I followed was one on sociology. That has now finished. So it kind of changes as the events change as well. But
Uh-huh.
I have a couple of fixed ones that are kind of my interests or the whatever topic I'm studying at the moment.
Yes.
So that's what I've been looking at.
Yes, great. Yes, that's the idea. So, as you can see, just from a quick, checking here of your hashtags and the trending topics in your lives, I can see that I can have a picture of what your interests are, what your passions are. Yeah. So this is exactly, for example, what I did with my students in the first day of classes, for example. I asked them at that time. Yes, now it's been like 2 years that I've done that, but it's really cool. I asked them what the trending topics were in their lives. Yeah, and then they thought about it. I gave them the iPads. Nowadays, they can even do that from their cell phones. They can use very simple apps like Picolage, yeah, to do it. I think Picolage is the easiest one. It's free. So then they had posters, digital posters with their trending topics, yes. And from there, I used this information throughout the year for example, even my examples, the examples I gave in class were always connected to this first encounter with their own worlds, with their own hashtags and the trending topics in their lives. And then the interesting thing was that some of the trending topics, I had no clue what they meant. So, for example, at that time, not now because now I know, I didn't know anything about Nicki Minaj, for example, or the Kardashians. Now I know, yeah, but at that time I didn't. So, in fact, what I did was I got the trending topics. I got the ones, so I asked them to send me their digital posters. So, this is great about that, the fact that I can keep those digital posters. They're not liquid anymore. Yes, I can keep like a copy of those to reuse them as the semester progresses. Is really interesting. So then I use this information. I made like for the following class a group of hashtags, the common ones in the classroom and the ones that I didn't know, and the ones that were really different for me. Yeah. And then we had like a whole group discussion about that. They taught me things. Yes. So where did I start from? I started from where they were, and again back to our neuronal networks. Yes. And another point in this kind of activity is that we can really tap into the more introverted students. And I think this is technology is a plus in this sense. Yes. In this case, for example, this guy here, he had his poster with a trending topic in his life. I could barely hear him because he was very, very, in this case, shy and introvert. Yeah. But then I realized how cool and how geek he was. Take a look at the last sentence there. I just watched Resident Evil to be prepared for the zombie apocalypse. Just joking, eh? So then I realized from there that though he was the quiet one, he was the geek. He was really into games and zombies and all that. So during this process, I realized that I could use this information throughout the semester with them. Yeah. So now I have a challenge for you. I'll give you 2 minutes. I hope everybody has an Instagram. Yeah, I hope so. At least some of you. Okay, so what we are going to do now is you are going to take a photo of something that is trending there, and it needs to be in your surroundings. So I want you to take a photo around, yes, and post it to your Instagram right now, yeah, and use the hashtag trending life. Okay, and now I'll just grab 1 second. I'll just grab my cell phone so that I can check your my Instagram with this trending topic. Okay, so remember, take a photo right now of a trending situation in your life. Yes, in your surroundings. Okay, and post it with the hashtag trending life, and I'll grab my cell phone. Okay, just a second. Okay, let me see what I've got here. Let me see if somebody has already posted. We still have some old photos there, but I thought the hashtag was good enough, yes, because there were not so many photos. And if you want to try something like that with your students, and it's really cool, even with your friends, okay? So try to find a hashtag that you don't have many photos within this hashtag. So trending life was okay. Let me see. Aha, I can see one here. Ah, it's Cristina. Irish tea. Yeah, great. Great, Cristina. Let me see here. I'll take a photo as well. Trending life. And then you can even follow me, yeah? Okay. I think we should do, let me just post mine so that I can talk about it. Okay, I just posted mine. Aha! And interesting enough, the 3 posts that I can see here from the group are all, and then we could check like the common things we have and the different things, yeah? So this is pretty awesome because then we have, look at that, we have Christina, myself, and Cindy that now I can connect to her, yeah? Okay, so in my case, I had coffee and tech because this is always trending in my life. It's the biggest connection I have, coffee and tech. Okay, If you have any other photos, we can get back later on to the. Oh, I see one more. Yes, it's Hillary there. Ah, birthday, Hillary. When was your birthday?
My son's birthday on
Oh,
Monday.
वो
oh,
सारे
great. So it is still a trending
इंस्टाग्राम पे
topic, yeah?
तस्वीर लगा लगा के दिखा
Uh-huh.
रहे हैं.
Nice, nice. Okay, I'll get back to the trending life again. But can you see that now I am using social media to know where my students are? Yeah. And of course, you tell me, okay, Carla, but not everyone has Instagram or students don't want to make this public. Oh, what you can do, they can create an Instagram specifically for your course, or maybe, oh no, my school doesn't allow that. Maybe you can have a closed group like a WhatsApp group, or I don't know, nowadays we are using Slack as well, which is an app which is similar to WhatsApp, but it is more for teamwork, not just social things. So all of them are good ways of going. So if you cannot go to social media, or even like a closed group on Facebook or anything like that, but from there I can really picture what is important in students' life. I can see where they are. I can make a connection to them. Yeah. So another important aspect of neuronal networks is the fact that the brain really needs. We must provide students with appropriate activities that enable them to work with the material enough that they strengthen the connections. Because if you don't strengthen the connection, you lose it. Yeah. So you really need to keep working with that, because to make it a long-term memory situation and process, uh, the brain needs to be seeing this new knowledge in many different ways. Yes, it's what we've been calling iteration. Yes, our brain needs repetition. Our brain loves repetition. Yeah, but our brain loves repetition not in the boring way. Yes, our brain loves surprise, and this is really important. You need to use it. What you're teaching your students should be used in many different ways. Otherwise, these connections, they are loosened and they are not strengthened, and then you lose it and it doesn't go to their memory. Yeah, it can be in their working memory at that time, but then you lose it. A quick example. So for example, when you want to how many times does this happen? Yeah, you want to remember a cell phone number. Yes, you go to your contacts, you remember that cell phone number. A second later, it's gone. Yes, because you used for a specific purpose. Our working memory has like a certain capacity. Then once you are done, it is lost. Yeah. Now, it's different from a long-term memory situation in which you really need to strengthen the connections so that it really becomes part of your own repertoire, your own knowledge, group there. Okay? So Diane Larson Freeman, you must have encountered her in your, academic life there. If you haven't, I highly recommend her. She talks about complex theory and all that, and she's very important in my area, second language acquisition. She has given new light to understanding how we learn, and how we learn is really cyclical. It's nothing that you learn something, go to the next step and move on. Yes, and she in one of her seminars she mentioned that you should be teaching adaptation. You should take an activity, change it a bit, do it differently. Yeah, do it in a new way, and you get iteration. Yeah. The condition is enabling students to another situation, molding resources. So the most important thing that we need to develop there is enabling students to develop the skills that they need to deal with situations that are new for them. Yes, but they already have some neuronal networks that will help them in some way. And then it is in the multimodality of call computer-assisted language learning, in this case, as in my case, that complex theory emerges, because then it's like cyclical. It goes back and forth, and you know, it comes from all the dendrites and all the connections there. And this is the beauty of, you know, bridging this gap between brain and technology. Yeah, and this is what really we want to see more in our classes. Yes, as I think it was Cindy, yes, that was mentioning that what she's doing in her class. It's all about discovery and letting the students do the job more than you do. They should be working hard because they are the ones who need to activate their brains, yeah? And in order to activate their brains, they need to be actively working on any kind of activity. It's not you. But, and another point here that some teachers and some educators, and I think most of the people are not aware of, is a whole brain perspective. And what do I mean by a whole brain perspective? It is not enough. Little true learning takes place from experience alone. Many people think, oh, from experience we are learning. Yes, of course we are. But there must be a conscious effort to build understanding from experience, which requires reflection, abstraction, and testing those abstractions. It's really a cycle, yes? So from a whole brain perspective, and there is a very good example here in this slide about learning how to ride a bike, for example. So first, the experience comes from observation. Yes, first you get there, you observe your brother riding a bike. Yes, it looks easy, you are excited. Okay, then you need to so first is experience, and then it's going to make some connections. Have I ever tried that? Or, you know, and then there is reflective observation. Yeah, how am I going to do that? Yeah. And then there is this help of someone trying the expert, yes, and then Vygotsky again with the knowledgeable one, yeah. How can I do that? And then, okay, you get a bike and you attempt to ride the bike, yes. So then it's like trying to test the bike itself, yeah. And then the last step is like you try to understand. So it's a hypothesis. So if I do that, this is going to happen. And then at last, you adjust to make it work for you. And then once you get started riding a bike, you will be able to, you know, go on. And if you practice even more, you can ride the bike without your hands. You can be more daunting and more daring in your bike ride, or not. Yes. So this is what we are talking about. When we are talking about the brain, it needs to integrate not only your experience, so the prior knowledge you have, it goes to it, and then there are two paths that this situation can go through. Yes. So first you have this sensory input. It enters the brain, and then it is routed to one of the two areas, the prefrontal cortex, yeah, what we call the thinking brain, which processes the information, and it's where we reflect upon the information. Or, depending on the kind of feeling we have in relation to that, based on our own experience, it goes to the automatic brain, which is like we call the reactive brain. And it reacts to information instinctively rather than through thought. So if that happens, then you're not going to have the thinking part. Yes, you're really going to be reacting to this experience, and then you might not get where you want. So we need to lower this emotional filter, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. What we really want to do is to have this whole brain experience in which there is this sensory input coming from somewhere, and then it goes through the whole cycle until you test and actively act upon your hypothesis. Yeah, so it's about gathering. Yeah, so first the brain gathers, it analyzes, and you need to create an act. Only then your neuronal networks are strengthened. Okay, yeah. So I'd like to show you a very simple activity that really relates to what I'm talking about here in terms of the whole brain experience. It's called the meteor. It's called the meteor activity. Yeah. And in this meteor activity, I'm not going to show the video, otherwise we won't have time to progress. Yeah. But the idea here, and then you can watch it later, is it's really cool to see the kids' reaction. In this activity, it is the following: the students they choose some activities, and they are studying the past progressive. Yeah. So what were you doing? Yes, I was. No. Okay. So then the students. Either they can choose an activity, or the teacher can provide the activity, but it's even better when they choose the activity. So they choose an activity, okay. Now, they go outside, and then the teacher says, oh, look, and then they are performing, once the teacher says, oh, look, there is a meteor, yeah? The students start to perform the action that they decided that they were going to perform. Okay, so they just do the activity, and then after that there is a memory game in which the students need to try to remember what the other students were doing while the meteor was falling on Earth. Yeah, so it's a really cool activity, and it involves a whole brain perspective. Yes, it starts from this sensation, and then the students go there, and then they act upon it. So think about this, yes, as a whole brain activity. And I would like to go further with you, again, with Instagram, yeah? So imagine that there is a meteor, and it's just falling where you are, okay? Are you ready? So it's falling where you are. What I want you to do is to take a photo of what you were doing while the meteor was falling. Yes, what were you doing? I want you to post on Instagram with the hashtag meteor class. Can you do it right now? What were you doing when the meteor fell on Earth? Okay, I'll do it as well. I'll do it right now. Okay. I have already posted mine. Let's see if you have. I already have some. Hillary was hiding. So what were people in your class doing? Yes? Cindy, oh my God, she was holding her cat. Is that it, or a dog, Cindy? It's a cat, right? And
Yeah, it's a
Christina,
new kitten.
yeah, cool. And then we have Christina attending our session here. So, can you see that this is a whole brain experience? Let's go back to it. uh, you have like first the feeling, imagine the excitement of the kids, yes, they have, or you can even do that with adults in a workshop or in any situation, yes. So you have the feeling part, the gathering, like, oh my God, what's happening here? And your brain will be processing that, yes. So your brain will be looking for other situations that were similar to this one. You might be picturing a meteor falling. Yes, so this is one thing. And then you analyze, and then here, yeah, in the language class, for example, they later on they will be uh, checking with the students what they were doing. Yeah, and here I added this last step of really acting upon it in the sense of taking the photo and posting the photo, and then you can discuss about it. You can write sentences, you can write like a story about this meteor. Yeah, so you see that it goes from the the feeling, the experience, until the creation part, and this is very important. Yes, I've done that before with, even with Cristina, for example, when we talk about collaborative projects. It has a lot to do with the whole brain experience, because generally when you have any kind of collaborative project, you are already working with the students with some topics, and then of course the students will have to research, so this is hypothesizing, and then they will have to create something, and they will connect to other schools in the world, to other communities and all of that. I did that a long ago with Cristina when she was still part of the naval, the Portuguese Navy. Yeah, and she can tell you more about it. And this is really a whole brain-friendly situation, yes, in the sense that students are really engaged and actively working on the production, in this case, in my case, in the production of language. But it's not language, it could be anything else. It could be knowledge or anything else. So I've had projects like school exchanges with a group of students in California, in Larry Ferlazzo. He's a very famous ed tech guy, yes, in with Larry Ferlazzo classes, in which they asked about Brazilian culture. Lots of stereotypes there, and my students got crazy, and they worked on the stereotypes to show that we were not what they supposed we were. Yeah. In this case here, another collaborative project, really fun. My students were learning the relative clauses, and this is really boring for them. So I decided to give a tech twist in this case. I told them that I had a group of friends, international friends, that were willing to learn Portuguese. So they had to choose some of their best words in Portuguese, the words that they thought that the foreigners should learn. So they worked with words like saudade, all kinds of words, pamonha. And if you want to check that out and record, it's really fun. It's available online. So they did that. So imagine how much work they put on it, because then they had to explain it in English and give the word in Portuguese. So saudade is something that, so they're already using relative clauses and pronouns in a very meaningful way. Yeah. And So they did that. They had to record. They put it online, and all my friends later on really added their pronunciation of the word, and then we showed that in class, and they couldn't believe that. So it goes beyond, just that whole brain process in the sense that well, of course, it is part of the whole brain process, including the emotional connections that we are going to be talking about soon. Another project that I had was fridges around the globe, again, connecting, the students connecting, and, I started with fridges around the world that I got from my network. They took photos of their fridges. My students had to guess where those fridges were from and which fridge was mine. I don't know if you can guess mine. I'm going to show you here. You have fridges 1, 2, and then here 5, 6. Which fridge do you think it's mine? One, two, 5, or 6? Can you guess? Anybody?
I'm going to say 2.
2? Let's see, 2. Why 2?
I don't know. To me, that looks like a very neat, organized, balanced, healthy eating fridge, and you seem like a person that would have that kind of lifestyle.
Oh my God, fun, fun. But in fact, I was 5. Look at mine, not so organized. And we are a family here. I am the only woman. There is my husband and 2 boys, so you can see like some soda, and you can see there's some beer. So just from there, you can really you are really adding the surprise element, the critical thinking element, yeah. And then of course I ask my students to take photos of their own fridges. So back to the whole brain thing, you start with this experience, this feeling, yeah, and you go all through the process up to the creation part, yeah. And then the creation could be like, writing, image, whatever, yeah. And then I had the group with them. They had to guess, and it was a lot of fun. We had the quiz with, they tried to figure out which fridges were from which countries. And here, there was this amazing freezer from a student of mine, Padilha. Yes, you can see here him on the right. And he showed us and told us a little bit about all the kinds of beer he had. Yeah. So again, just to give you, to repeat what we've been talking about, when information gets into your brain, it's like concrete experience. It's a sensory input, yes, of some kind, yeah. Then it can be a quick time, or it can last longer. It's observation. There is a hypothesis, and then you have to act upon it in some way. Otherwise, it probably the neuronal connections that you want to strengthen will not be strengthened. Yes, so that's what you need. You need to go through the whole process. So it's experience, reflection, abstraction, and testing of abstraction, which is like the concrete part of the experience. Yeah. So I'd like to stop here a little bit and see if you have any questions or any comments.
I have a question. I was just wondering, how you were telling us about that meteor activity?
The meteor,
I was just wondering if you were to do that outside with young students, and you said that they are, to sort of remember the actions that their friends were doing. Do you tell them to remember the actions before you do the task?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't. In fact, they don't know what's going to happen, yeah? And this is also part of because then the brain will have to scan what it can remember, yeah? So I think it's the surprise element there. So we don't generally tell them. Otherwise, it's not as fun, yeah? If you check the video, and then I'll give you the link. You already have the link to this presentation, so the link is there. You will see there is this whole activity. You can see the whole class experience there, and you'll see that they have to, try to remember really what one was doing, what the other was doing. Yes, and of course, then you can even work with perception. Yes, what we pay attention to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I was just wondering that, we get experience, active testing, observation, and reflection. I was just wondering if one could be stronger than the other one, or do they all kind of work the same interlocking system?
Yeah, in fact, it's not that one is stronger than the other one. Of course, it can it can have a more impact, but for the brain, it's really important that you work the four of them, like you go through the whole cycle. Because, for example, if you have, a very strong emotion, sensory input, but the students don't work on that, well, what's going to happen to the connections, the neuronal connections? Probably you are missing there a great point in the sense of, having the students work on that sensory input and all that. So it is really important to go through the whole brain process. Yes, not just one part. Yeah, and that's why, and I want to say that loud. Yes. Learning styles, if you think of students' learning styles, this today, according to neuroscience, is considered a myth. I'm repeating that. Learning styles like auditory, things that we learn, yes? Auditory, oh, I am a visual person. This is a myth. Why? Because, of course, this is an input, yeah? But what really matters to the brain is what you do once it is in your brain, once you've received this sensory input, yes? So, of course, I can have the strategy of, for example, I can only, I think I learn best, and it's a strategy when I take notes. Okay, oh, I would say that people would say that I'm a visual learner. No, okay, I take notes, but if I take notes and I do nothing about it, then what's going to happen? Nothing. Yeah, so that's the point. In order for the brain to really activate and all that, you really need to, it's not just the act of taking notes, right? I'll have to read it again. I'll have to, after I take the notes, I'll have to actively, highlight something. See what I mean? So it's not about just the input and what I said before in the beginning, the experience you get, yes, or the experience you have. You need to act upon it. Yeah, and that's why I'm really focusing on this idea of the whole brain experience. Yeah, so learning styles, according to neuroscientists nowadays, is a myth. Are you okay with that? And if you want, I can send you more information about that. Okay?
Hi. Can I
Now,
ask a question?
yes, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I just wondered what you think about, technology and collaborative learning, and or if you think that people would learn anyway in a traditional way. Just thinking about, how we create context and trying to make learning more real.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a personal journey as well. And do you think that ultimately people will find their own way to learn regardless of what's happening around them?
Yeah, I think that the main point there is context and emotional connections. If you can work in these two, and that's why, collaborative projects, and that's why any project that you propose to your students, that they are really engaged in the process of doing something, it's brain friendly, yes? So I think that if we give context to our students with this emotional connection, and that's where technology gets into the equation. It's really in the fact that the students already have an emotional a connection with technology. Yes, so if you are using that plus proposing something like a challenge or a surprise or something that will, you know, get the brain to be attentive to that, then it's really powerful. So you don't have like to find international, you know, partners. Of course, this adds an element of, you know, surprise and motivation. But even if you're doing like small things in your classroom, and you'll see, for example, the Meteor example, I think it's a very good example of something that is simple and really effective. Yeah, so that's the idea. I think context, connection, and of course context, connection, prior knowledge, and acting upon it. This is very important. So what are the students going to do with that? This is really important. Okay, now here's a challenge for you. Is some of you or anyone in Twitter? I know that Cristina is in Twitter. Who else is in Twitter? Just say me, or how many, Cristina? How many is saying that they are on Twitter?
We all are.
They all are.
Oh, perfect. This is perfect. But even if you were not, this is a very, very simple activity. Even if the students are not on Twitter, I've done that with my students, and it worked brilliantly. Of course, we need to be aware of, you know, inappropriate things we can find there, but I wouldn't, you know, not do an activity because you can find inappropriate material. In fact, if I found something inappropriate, I would work with my students, because that's what they need. They need digital literacy, and they need to understand how to filter information. But I had an experience with my students, and they were studying the superlatives, yeah? And generally, if you're speaking about a language classroom, you are going to do it the most boring way. Like, oh, who is the tallest in the classroom? Who is the funniest? Who is the... See? So it's the students, every time they see that in the book, generally that's what teachers do. So I decided for something related to the Guinness Book, which was much more fun. Yes, like I had a quiz, they searched online, I had, it was a lot of fun. And then I decided to use Twitter with my adult group. Yeah, and I asked them to search for, on Twitter, to search for, and you can try that on your cell phones there, and I can do that with my cell phone as well right now, to search for, you know, the happiest, yeah, the phrase happiest, the happiest, yeah. And you know, on Twitter, and then again, technology helping us, we found things like this: the happiest people do not have the best of everything, they make the best of everything they have. Yeah, and so first they had this sensory input about, you know, happy, what is being happy, and then we discussed that, what is happy for you, and all that. So it's sensory information, sensory input, connecting to their prior knowledge. And then we move on to you know, searching. So it's the part of hypothesizing here, yes. So, and they found the thing. So they're processing this information, yes. This one as well, yes, which also has like an emotional impact. Look at the school picture there. Is this the happiest airport reunion ever? Yeah. And then we could talk about their happiest moments and all that. Yeah. And later on, it's incredible how the person who makes you the happiest is the same person who can make you the saddest. And then they can give you examples of this. So they're actively working upon what they've seen. It's the littlest things that make me the happiest, yes? And then what I asked them to do is they had to create their own sentences, like in a tweet-like way, yes, 140 words, okay? So this was the idea I had. And can you see that I've gone through the whole brain cycle? Yes, going from, the sensory input, prior knowledge, asking them about what was happy for them, what it meant to be happy, and then researching, and then making sense of what it meant in the context there. Yeah, and then later on, creating their own sentences, having a model. Can you see the power of that? So again, neuronal networks, you can only strengthen what you already have. So that's why we keep talking about prior knowledge and neuronal networks. So you need to make sure you tap into the students' prior knowledge, see what they already have, and strengthen from there. Yeah. And the other part that I wanted to talk about is the emotional brain. This is the most important.
Ask you a
Yes.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
Hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you that for me it's very interesting to find out that learning is a biological thing and not a mental thing. But I just wanted to know that how a teacher can know about the students' neuronal networks. It's by looking at the prior knowledge of the student.
How does the teacher, what? Sorry, it's kind of breaking.
How to know about the student network?
Let me see if I got it. How does the teacher get to the students and strengthen the neuronal networks? Is that it?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So,
about looking at the prior knowledge of the student.
yes, exactly that. This is exactly the point. Back to my, so, and this is not easy, yes, because, and this is the main point. We tend to teach everybody, yes. We tend to teach for the average student, yes, and we tend to make assumptions of of what the students already know, right? So we think that everybody knows about something, but in order to really tap into every student's brains, we really need to start with the prior knowledge, which means that first we need to know where the students are through activities like we've done here. So, for example, if the first example, the beach part, yeah? So the students, if they don't have any connection about the beach, yes, so how do we start? How do we know that? We show them a picture and see what they know about that. We put the word and see if they can come up with a drawing about that. So we need to know where the students are and what kind of information they already have, their prior knowledge. From there, you are going to build the neuronal networks. And for each student, this will be different because each student has had a different experience, a totally different experience. So there are no brains that look the same. Even if we have twin kids, they're going to have a totally different neuronal network. Yes, because though they have the same mother, the same father, their experiences are different, and the neuronal connections the neuronal networks are different. So we really need to tap into students' prior knowledge. For even starting. For example, I'm teaching a group of teachers now, and we were going to start talking about the brain. And I wanted to know their perspective of what learning meant to them. Because learning for me now is what? Learning is strengthening neuronal networks and growing them. Yes? But I know that for my students, this was not true. So I wanted to know where they were. I asked them like to just create a mind map, like a brainstorm with a mind map, showing what learning was. And then they had to write a sentence for me. So just from doing that, I'm trying to tap into their prior knowledge. So there are many strategies that you can use. So I did that in the beginning of the semester. When we finished the unit, like all the module about the brain, I asked them again what learning was. And then it was totally different, the answers that I got. And then I asked them to compare. I showed them what they thought before and what they had now. Yeah, so it's really amazing how the brain works, and it is not easy to tap into students' prior knowledge. But if you do that, it's really when differentiation happens. It's not about the activity we are proposing, but how we are dealing with this different brains in the classroom. So that's why we need variety of activities, so we can tap into different brains. Yes. Now we have, if you see, imagine you are in the forest, yes, and you see a bear. What do you do? Can you answer me?
It depends what kind of bear it was. That is
Okay.
that's a big thing.
So it's a big bear, the one that you can see on the screen. So what would you do?
I'd run.
Run. What else?
I would also run. I would also run.
Run, but then you wouldn't have a chance. Yes. So the point of the bear, we all have bears in the classroom. Yes. And this is our emotional brain. Yeah. So there is a system in our brain, and I'll go back to it. But I wanted to mention to you something that is really important. Remember, I told you in the beginning that when you have the sensory input, it can take two different routes. It can go to the prefrontal cortex, yes, where the thinking brain, where the thinking part happens, and that's where the prefrontal cortex, we might call it the thinking brain, yes. So that's where we process the information. Now, there is another route that it takes, which is the lower automatic brain, the reactive brain. And let me tell you that the prefrontal cortex is actually only 17% of our brain. The rest makes up for the reactive brain, yes? So when something that is scary, is fearful for us, it goes straight to our reactive brain, yes? And it means that and an important organ there in our brain is called the amygdala, yes? The amygdala is all related, it is the filter, yes? And it filters, it's all related to anxiety, fear, emotion. So if the brain thinks that there is a bear in the room, what does it do? There are three things that we do. We fight. It's the three F's, yes? We fight, we freeze, or we flight. So if you find this bear, for example, you might run, yes? So you might flight, yeah, in this case, or freeze, for example. I think most of us wouldn't fight, right? So what we need to understand is that we really need to, our brain is always looking for survival. Yes, we have this limbic system. This is a group of brain structures there, and including the amygdalas, the hippocampus, and the hypothalamus. We won't have time to go through all of them, but they are involved in the processing and regulation of emotions, memory, and sexual arousal. So the limbic system is an important element of the body's response to stress, and it's highly connected to the endocrine and autonomic nervous systems. So it is where we respond to our emotions. And what does it have to do with our teaching and learning? In our brains, we all have this emotion pathway, yes? So, and we have this system of survival, reward, and pleasure. And this is controlled by the amygdala. If the amygdala this organ in our brain fears something, it might freeze us. It might freeze us. Yes. So if the amygdala tells us that, oh, it's okay, I've had this experience before and I can react to that, maybe you are going to fight that and it's going to go to your prefrontal cortex. So in many situations, the classroom will have the bear in it, yes, for the students. Sometimes we don't even notice that their emotional brains are really active and the amygdala is processing things. And they might, sometimes even calling a student might go to their brains, like the information that it gets to our brains is that they are in danger. And that's when they stutter, that's when they feel that they have their hands cold, yes. So it can be stressful for them. So what we need to do there is to tame the bear in our classrooms. This is the main point. And we need to make those connections, those emotional connections. We want our students to feel relaxed and open to learning, yes, in the sense that the amygdala is not highly activated, yes. We want it to be in low situations. And how do you do that? For example, to create this emotional connection, one way of doing that is storytelling. When you tell stories, when your students tell stories, our brain loves that, really loves that, because then it's like a whole brain thing, and you have the imagery, you have the emotional connection that you make. That's why we love books and literature and all that. Yes, because it soothes our brain. Yeah, it is a non-threatening situation. Of course, if you show, for example, for a kid a terror story, then of course the amygdala will be highly activated, and then of course the student will not pay attention to that, because the student is more worried about his own protection and survival. Yes. So in this case, for example, one of the ways you can connect to students through images, through stories, and I wanted to give you an example. Again, I won't have much time here. I think our time is up. I don't even know how much time we had. Cristina, tell me if I should finish soon. And of course, I need to finish soon, but can I have some more, I don't know, 10 minutes?
I think it's okay.
It's
if
okay?
we usually have an hour and a half, 2 hours slot. So if people don't have to go somewhere, then the recording will be on.
Yes.
So I would be okay with 10 minutes. I don't know about the rest of the students.
Yes, if you need to leave, please do so. The recording will be available. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to show this here. Let's try to do it. I think I can go back. I'm going back to myself here. Yeah. Let's stop the screen sharing so that, okay. Yes, I'm back to action here. You can see me again. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to, let me see if I can show you. Just a sec. Let me see. I wanted to show you a video. I don't remember where it is. That's okay, but I'll give you the link later on so that you can watch the video. The video is really cool, and in this sense of storytelling. What the teacher did there, and you have the link, you can watch it through the PowerPoint there, the slide. In the video, the teacher did the following. They were talking about love. Yes, so the topic of the unit was love. So the students, they had to go home and ask their parents about their love stories, or if their parents were divorced, or and there was a not a good situation to talk about, they could ask their grandparents. So it was about not only doing the love story, but connecting to the community, which is also very powerful. Yes, making other emotional connections. It's your family history, for example. Yeah. So what they did was they went home. They asked their parents and grandparents and friends about their love stories. They went back to the classroom, and in the classroom, they wrote. I showed the teacher a technique of paper stories. They folded the paper. Let me get a paper here to show you. You fold the paper in six parts, and I'm going to show you here. So just fold the paper in 6 parts, okay? Just like this, squares. Okay, you get the paper here, okay? So you have 6 parts, yes? Can you see it? Okay, perfect. So here is like a storyboard, yes? So from this storyboard here, yeah, the students had to write the stories in the 6 squares, yes? They had to write the stories, they had to make the script, everything, like storytelling. So once they were done, they have 6 different papers, like white blank papers. So they have the white paper, the teacher gave them the white paper. And then they made this, they got this storyboard and made it bigger. Yeah, okay, so in each paper, in each sheet of paper, they had one part of the story. They wrote the script, everything. When they were ready, they recorded a video. Yes, and they would flip through the papers. They would do like this. They would put on the table, and they would just go from one paper to the next. Yes, this is very good, especially for kids when you cannot show their faces on screen, and for teenagers who are very embarrassed and they think it's not okay to show them in schoolwork. Yeah, so they did that. They recorded the video, and then they were using, you can use their mobile phones, you can use, in our case, they were using the school iPads. Yes, we have a set of iPads, so they use the school iPads to do that. They recorded, they use iMovie to edit the video, to put some songs on, to edit everything, like the beginning of the story, the end of the story. And that was it. It was a very simple activity. The teacher didn't take long because they wrote the story. They had some time to write the story. I would say 20 minutes, because they already had the story in their minds. And then they took some time to do the storyboarding and to draw, very simple drawing on the paper, and record the video was very simple. So it didn't take long, but the connections were great. And if you watch the video, you will see that they used the expressions that they were studying. Like, for example, I was head over heels, and expressions, idiomatic expressions related to love stories. Yeah. So from there, of course, you are strengthening again the neuronal networks for love, and then you are adding more information about this category we have in our brain. Then they're going to connect more expressions about it, and then it means that you are going to fire and wire even more. Yeah. And then they produce the story, so it's a whole brain thing. Yes, they started with input, and then they talked about it, they talked to their families, they hypothesized, then they wrote the script. And so can you see the many steps they had in order to produce the stories? So they are really using their whole brains. And then the fact that you have a digital artifact that you can use it later on. So they're going to read each other's stories. The teacher can prepare a quiz based on the stories. They can retell the stories that they heard to their friends. So all of that is really brain friendly, and it means that they are really connecting. They are really strengthening the neuronal networks, and they are firing and wiring. Yeah. Okay. Um, let me check. Let me go back to my. So this is about love stories. And the last point I want to make is in relation to the emotional brain, which is the most important part of, we really need to think about the emotional brain when we are teaching, because emotion and cognition are totally intertwined. Yes, they involve the interplay between the body and the mind. So if you are relaxed, if your brain is really open to that learning experience, this will reflect in our minds, in our body, in everything. On the other hand, if you feel like tense, if you feel that in some way you are being threatened by anything, as I pointed out, like sometimes even the teacher calling the students might be a threat to the student, then your amygdala blocks, these pathways to the prefrontal cortex. So we really need to be attentive to those connections. Yes, and one thing that we always say is that we need to think of, dopamine type of learning. Yes, because dopamine releases this dopamine release when we feel good about a situation. Yes, because dopamine, this neurotransmitter, is involved in positive emotions, right? So whenever we have very positive emotions, we are releasing dopamine, and this could stimulate students to be more attentive to the activities, yes, and lessons. Yes, so if they feel they are emotionally, and there is there is this emotion and personal connection to the activity or to the learning itself, then the connections are much stronger. So we really need to be attentive to the kind of activities we are designing in our classes. Yeah, this is really, really important. And in this case of dopamine and emotional brain and storytelling, let me try to show you here an image again. Let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. Can you see the image that I'm projecting there? Just a second. Not yet. Can you see it, Cristina?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We can.
Great.
I was also wondering, Carla, if after
Yeah.
this we can open it for questions so that we can then wrap it up, if that's
yes,
okay.
This is the last activity, and then I'm open to questions, okay? Okay, guys. So here we go. Imagine this situation. I want you to pick up an object that you have with you right now that is very important to you, something that is very meaningful. Can you grab that? Yes? Okay, I can see you right now. Can you tell me what it is? 2 or 3 people just tell me what it is, what this important object is all about.
Well, I have my cat on my lap.
Oh, your
So-
cat. So this is the most important thing to you, right? One of the most important.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, anybody else?
I have my kids with me.
Your kids. They're
Yeah.
around. They're around. That's great. Okay. Any other thing? Any object, like real object, not Does anybody pick an object? I need an object.
Maybe your phone?
Okay, the cell phone. Okay, perfect. Now, can you see this wonderful field over there? Imagine we are all there in this field. Okay, we are down there, and we are going to be going on a hot balloon journey. Is everybody there with me? Is everybody going on this hot balloon? Cristina, just let me know if everybody's going or if somebody's going to stay down there.
No, they're all there.
They're all there. Perfect. Oh, great. So
Yes,
we're
yes.
we're all like we're just starting to go up. Yes. Now picture what you can see down there. Yes. Can you see somebody there? So I would go on and on with this story. I would ask, can you see somebody there? What are they doing? And all that. Yeah. But then there is a problem. There was a problem with the hot balloon. There was like a wind gush, and we are falling. Yeah, we are falling. And these objects that you took with you, yes, because you all took these objects and people with you, they are going to help you not to fall down, or at least to save everybody's lives in the hot balloon. Yeah. So then I've done this activity with my students there, and it is, and you can see how it progresses. Yes, I make like a big scene. Yes, it's like really about a play. Yeah, and first they talk about the object. Then they decide if they're going to take the object. Some students don't go up because they're afraid of heights. They stay down. So they discuss what they're seeing there and what the student down there is seeing up there, and then they are falling, and then they had to decide how they are going to manage that, and how the object is gonna say which objects are going to save them. Yeah. So all from one image. It's a digital image. You can choose all kinds of images there. Again, a very simple activity that really connects, and there is this emotional connection to students. So from there you can have like a writing activity. You can have all kinds of activities, like they can write a blog post. They can invent their journey, yes, with images. They can create their stories and have a slideshow. There are numerous possibilities there. Yeah. So this was just to give you really a sense of the things that we can do if we think about the emotional connections, prior knowledge, a whole brain perspective to our teaching and learning, yeah, and connecting all that to technology. And one interesting thing that I've seen in somewhere is like no technology has an impact on learning on its own. It all depends on how it is used. So it will only have an impact on the learning process if you consider these neuroscience aspects that we've been talking about. I think it's very powerful, and I can say that my teaching has been transformed when I started learning more about the brain and how the brain works. Together with technology, it becomes really explosive, yes? And some things that we really need to take into account. We need to question ourselves if we leave space. Are we leaving space for discovery? Do we really make our students work more than we do? How much of my class do I speak? And do I encourage creativity, creation? Yes? These are key questions that we should be asking all the time. And I have a mantra for good learning design, which is connect to students, know where they are, yes, know about their prior knowledge, add variety and movement to the lessons, It's all about wiring and understanding the survival element for each student. Embrace a whole brain perspective. The brain loves action, yes, and design meaningful and contextualized learning experiences. So that's it for me. I hope you've learned something new, yeah. And I'm open to any questions. I must say I have like around 5 minutes because I have another appointment, but we can connect in the social media and keep the conversation going. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Carla, for taking the time to do this with us. It was brilliant. I was just wondering if there's any more questions from the floor. If there is, please just unrelease your mics.
Yes, if you have any comments or questions. And I was wondering if you were aware of all this related to the brain. I think you've read the chapter I sent to you, which is, in fact, I think I should mention that all the ideas here are from a book called The Art of Changing the Brain by James Zoll. And I highly recommend for any educator, yes, The Art of Changing the Brain. From James Zoll. Do you have any questions? Anything that you would like to ask about?
Yeah, I have one question. I'm doing my dissertation on cyberbullying and how it impacts the teacher. I was just wondering if you have anything you would like to add to that about the brain structure and learning.
Yes. Well, in fact, cyberbullying is exactly all about that emotional connection that we were talking about. So for the bully, in fact, it is working on the pleasure part of the brain. Yes. So for the the one who is cyberbullying is having pleasure. So we need to consider that for some, what is pleasure for others is like a threat, yes. So in the case of the one being cyberbullied, it can impact, you know, this. It can impact. No, it will impact this emotional brain in very deep ways, and we never know how we are going to deal with that. Even if we try to solve that, even if we try to solve that, what's going to happen is that it is already ingrained, like the experience. So it is already ingrained in the student's brain, the emotional brain. Yes. So if the student connects that to anything, imagine years from now, if something happens, yes, it might trigger the feeling that he had when he was cyberbullied. It can be a very simple thing that just triggers what the brain recognizes as a threat. Yes, so that's why it is so damaging in ways that we never know, because we never know what's going to happen in the future. It is very hard to overcome it. Although, because even if the brain, we try to find. One thing that I didn't mention that is very interesting about the brain is that if the brain is wired in a certain way, even if it's wrong, yes, it's really hard to unwire it. It won't happen. So you need to find other connections there to make the brain rewire, but it's really hard. And that's why sometimes, like the students, they keep doing the same kind of mistakes, even if we have already taught them many times. Why? Because once the brain, the neuronal connections were made there, it's very hard to make these neuronal connections, if they are strong enough, to make them not so strong. Yeah. So in relation to bullying, though I haven't studied much, I haven't read any studies in relation to cyberbullying and the brain, but I'm sure that from what I know, it's really hard because then your brain is wired for a certain kind of experience the students had, and then it's really hard to unwire. And then what you need to do, and what psychologists do, and it's really to try to rewire in another path. But something might trigger this old memory that we have, because the memory is already there. Yeah. Any other questions?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to ask you that the wiring of the brain is the same as what we call the brainwashing.
The brain what? The sound is not very clear for me. Can you write it?
I'm saying that,
Mm.
yeah, okay, I will write it.
Yeah, it's the sound. Your sound is a little bit, yeah. Brainwashing, like what? When you start like something that you try to put in your student's mind or in somebody's mind, like what people did in, for example, the Nazism was really about wiring people to think in a certain way. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Well, in fact, what we try to do with our students in a certain way is trying to make them learn things that we want them to learn. Yes, and then we try things and all that. It's not. I wouldn't say it's like brainwashing, but the point is that repetition is really important to the students' mind, so they learn. And sometimes even these quotes and yes, yes, please, yes, in a positive way. And if you think of all these quotes and beliefs and all that, it's all about wiring the brain to think in a certain way, right? So what we want to do is and repetition is really important in the way that, remember I showed you that image of the dendrites, and I said that growing dendrites is what makes learning happen. It's what learning is. Yes. So this is the point. What we want to do with our students for them to learn anything, yes, is to help them make their own connections and wire, yes, make these firing and wiring. Yeah. And how do we achieve that? By promoting different kinds of activities and experiences. But not only that, remember that this is the tricky part, and this is what we generally do. We do the activities and we think we are done. That's it. We're okay to go. But then sometimes we forget that we need to go through the whole cycle. If you just give an activity and that's it, okay, so a dictation, okay, that's it, it won't work. Because the students need to process this information, and this won't happen once. In order for the brain to really wire, you need to repeat that over and over again in different ways, because the brain likes surprises. Otherwise, the brain won't be attentive. The brain doesn't like boredom. So if you are doing something the same way every day, you won't be attentive to that, and maybe learning won't take place the way you expected it to learn. So you expected students to learn. So what you need to try to do is really to vary things. Yes. It's really important, and that's where technology comes in. Yes, because with technology, see, we tried here some simple activities, and you can do what is considered the drilling, for example, but in different ways. Yes, students are repeating the structure, but in many different ways. Yeah, so this is the beauty of technology in this sense. So yes, we need the brain needs repetition, but it needs variety as well. Yeah, that's it. And another point, just to finish up this idea, and I don't think I showed the slide, but it is in my presentation. It's all about what I mentioned here. Survival, like when we are trying to survive, we are also fighting for control. So another important thing in relation to the brain is that the students will profit more from deep learning when they are in control. They have ownership of their own learning. It's not about you, teacher, it's about them. So when you transfer this control to them, then the wiring is much more powerful. This is something really, really important. They need to own the process. And that's why we talk so much about, thinking, testing, testing the hypothesis and creating. Because in this process, the student takes ownership and control of his or her own learning. Yeah? So we could be here talking about the brain and learning for, decades.
Okay, thank you so much, Carla. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your taking the time, and this was really useful. I found this very fascinating. So I'm really, really thankful for you taking the time. Will you be able then to share the link with us once it became part of your channel? If you could just tweet us the link so we can then revisit the presentation if we wish to do so.
Yes, in fact, there is the link. If you go to the link to just a second, the event page that we just had for the Google Hangout, and I'm going to post it here for you, you will be able to see the streaming, okay?
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, it's already there. Once we finish, it's going to be there as a recording, and you can revisit it. Just a reminder, the slides, let me get the link again for you. So all the slides that we had today. And if you want anything else, I'm sure I can find some interesting readings for you. Yes, so these are the slides that we've just gone through, okay, this session. And unfortunately, now I have another appointment. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Cristina, for the invitation and the challenge. It's the first time I present really about this connection between brain and technology. Thank you for being my guinea pig in a way. Yeah, and I would love to have your feedback because now that I have started, I think I'm going to present more about that because I think it's very enlightening for teachers and educators all over the globe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. We'll be sending our blog post with our reflection. So
Oh,
thank you about that.
great. I'll be glad to comment there as well.
All right. Brilliant.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. I will